Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. Today we'll be refurbishing used candles. There are many methods that we can go about doing so, but today we'll be doing two methods, which are the hot water method as well as the freezing method. So the hot water, you need a pot with boiling water, a ladle or a teacup. What we'll do is to pour some of the hot water into the jars up to the brim, where it should melt the wax and harden on top. So I will do that and leave the jars overnight. You can do it in about 8 hours, but I usually do it overnight. Once you allow it to cool and harden, you'll be fine. So I'll just continue pouring water into the jars and allow the process to take place. So this is what it should be looking like once the wax starts going to the top and cools. And I really enjoy watching the wax float up to the top. Okay, so now time has passed, it's all cooled, so we should be moving on to the next process, which is to be removing the wax from the jars. As I think I mentioned before, I only made one of these candles, so the type of wax varies between the jars. The orange one, it was quite grainy. Some of them were very soft, like mine. I used soy wax, and some of them were very hard or smooth. I was trying to save as much of the original wax as possible so that I could blend it with the soy wax that I have on hand. But quite a few of them would not be compatible with my wax, or it was very impure because of all the smudge and the burnt wick. So I still try to save as much as possible. So now we're on to the next part of the removal, which we have poured off the water. So now we're using the butter knife to pop the wax out. Okay, so one is done. Some of them are easier to remove than others. For example, this one was not quite as easy as the first one, and the wax is quite green. Okay, and so you want to remove as much of the wax as possible from each jar. As when we're cleaning the jars, we want to limit or to prevent the wax from going down the drain. So this jar is the one that I created for Christmas collection in 2020. It was the gingerbread scented. Alright, so some of them, as I mentioned, were not as easy as others to come out. So these big jars, what I did was to repeat the process once more, seeing that it had more wax at the bottom than the others. Once I was done removing as much wax as possible from the jars, I moved on to the cleaning part. So what you need is dish soap, a bit of warm water, and a hand towel. So we just scrub, 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 scrub until it's all clean and ready for the next step. Okay, this is another method for the freezing method. We just pop it into the freezer and you can leave it overnight. Once it's frozen, we take a butter knife once more and we just try to pop it out. Yep, and that's all there is to the freezing method. So you can decide which method works better for you. Okay, so now that we're done with the wax removal and the cleaning of the jars, we're on to the final stage, which will be to actually fill the jars with new scented wax. So what I'm doing is just to wick the jars. I use a wick sticker at the bottom of the wicks to keep them in place. So we're melting the wax here. You should follow the required temperature to boil the wax depending on the type of wax you're using. I prefer to use soy wax. I was trying to save as much of the original wax and fragrance, but you can see that it was not very clean. I really didn't like that choice at all. So yes, continue to stir as it melts. Okay, so you should, well, I added the fragrance that I added fragrance to this. I think I was using the lavender. This fragrance is what I call lavender bliss. It's lavender with a few other fragrances. And make sure you stir, stir, stir to ensure that the oil and the wax are mixed together as much as possible. And then we'll pour it into the jar. Yes, so I haven't made candles in a while, so I did not know where my wick holders were at the time, so I just used the good old faithful clothespins to hold the wicks in place. And so I'll just be doing that once more, well, as many times as the number of jars I have to refurbish. For this color, I used yellow and black. I'm not sure why I chose that color at all. I thought it was a bit too dark, but by the end of the video, you'll see just how bright it actually is. And so when I have leftovers, I just pour them into smaller jars that I will keep for myself, or I will mix other fragrances with it. And so this is the end of my video. I hope it was helpful or entertaining or worth the time that you've spent here. Till next time, bye.